In Japan, there is a spirit that lives in the toilet. Not the clean, heated, sensor-equipped toilets of Tokyo apartments. The spirit that concerns us lives in the old kind. A long, dark, rectangular opening in a wooden floor, and beneath it, a pit that goes down further than seems reasonable. Its name is Akamanto, the Red Cape. The story changes slightly from prefecture to prefecture, the way folklore always does. Wearing different clothes in different places, but carrying the same cold bones beneath. Children across Japan have whispered it for generations. But this isn't just folklore. This is about a specific child, a specific summer, a specific outhouse in a village called Kakura. And unlike most ghost stories, this one has a true name attached to it. If you're new here, this channel covers stories that sit right on the edge of history and the unexplained. Real places, real people, real fear. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, back to Kakura. Aerial, misty mountain village, rice terraces, gray timber houses, sound wind, distant frogs. By the summer of 2018, the village of Kakura had 43 people left. The youngest was 14 years old. Her name was Haruka. She'd come to stay with her grandmother, Obachan Setsuko, while her parents managed a situation in Osaka they called complicated, and that Haruka understood with the quiet clarity of children who listen at doors, meant their marriage. Setsuko's farmhouse was beautiful, the way old things are beautiful when they've been loved for decades. Dark timber, shoji screens, tatami that smelled of old grass. The outhouse was at the edge of the vegetable garden, weathered cedar. No electricity, just a paper lantern on a hook. And below the floor, a pit, deep enough that you couldn't see the bottom in daylight. At night, with only the lantern, you couldn't see into it at all. Haruka disliked the outhouse intensely. She was 14. She had grown up with indoor plumbing in a third-floor Osaka apartment. The outhouse represented everything Kakura was that her life was not. She used it quickly, she held her breath, she kept her eyes at the level of the door latch, and she tried not to think about the dark beneath the floor. Haruka managed this for 3 weeks. Then, on a Thursday night in August, she heard the voice. She lit the lantern. She latched the door. She was almost finished when the voice came from below. Smooth, genderless, conversational, like someone sitting nearby in a dim room, not something in a pit beneath the floor. Akai kami, shiroi kami, dochira ga ii. Red paper or white paper? Which would you like? She had heard those words before. All Japanese children had. Akamanto asks you to choose. Red paper, itai, he skins you alive. White paper, itai, he strangles you. Blue, he drags you into the pit. The rule, do not answer, leave immediately. She could not move. The voice repeated itself. Patient, even, like a shopkeeper repeating a question to someone who didn't hear. Her hand found the latch, and the door stuck. Swollen with humidity, she pushed harder. It opened, and she crossed the garden without stopping. She didn't tell Setsuko. By morning, she'd convinced herself it was nothing. By the following Thursday, she'd entirely convinced herself. She went back. And this time, she answered. She said, neither. She'd looked it up. Refuse the choice entirely, and Akamanto leaves you alone. She said neither, and stepped out into the garden. The garden was wrong. not visually, everything exactly as it should be. But the air had changed. Colder, drier, the temperature of a different season entirely. The frogs had stopped, all at once. And from inside the outhouse, behind the door she had just closed, she heard movement, not a voice, or the specific sound of something shifting in a confined space, weight redistributing, as if something had been crouching for a very long time and had just decided to stand. She walked to the farmhouse. She did not run. She heard the latch from inside turning. She made it through the back door before she heard whether the outhouse door opened. She did not sleep. At 3 a.m., footsteps crossed the garden. Slow, deliberate. They stopped at the back door. She lay on her futon and did not call out. Some instinct told her that sound was the wrong choice. The footsteps stood there for a very long time. Then they crossed back. The outhouse door closed. The frogs resumed, all at once. Five days later, Haruka asked her grandmother about Akamanto. She framed it as curiosity, something she'd read online. Setsuko went still. She didn't look up. Where did you hear that name? Then, slowly, she spoke. There was a child before you were born, she said, a great nephew, Kenji, 8 years old. He heard the voice. He told me after the third time. I should have listened the first time. What happened? On the last night of his stay, he went out after dark. He didn't come back in. I found him in the morning, sitting on the floor of the outhouse, facing the opening. He wasn't hurt. He didn't seem frightened. But he didn't speak for 4 months. And when he finally did, his voice wasn't quite his own, slightly lower, slightly wrong, like a recording played at the wrong speed. He grew out of it. He's 31 now. He lives in Sendai. He does not visit. Setsuko looked at Haruka for the first time. Do not go out after dark. And if you've already answered, just wake me tonight. Don't wait until morning. Haruka was quiet. I already answered. Setsuko closed her eyes. Then she stood with the steadiness of a woman who has known for decades that she cannot fully protect the people she loves from everything, but who has never let that stop her from trying. She went to a drawer and removed paper strips, white folded in a specific way. She walked to the outhouse and attached them to the door, the frame, the walls, the efficiency of someone who had done this before. She came back, washed her hands. It won't stop it, but it will keep it inside. It will not cross the garden again. She was right. The footsteps didn't return, but every night for the remaining 2 weeks, Haruka heard the voice from across the garden. Faint, patient, unhurried. Akai kami, shiroi kami, dochira ga ii. Haruka's parents reconciled that autumn. She returned to Osaka. The summer in Kakura became the kind of memory that sits in a specific room inside you. A room you don't open often, but whose door is always slightly warm to the touch. She is 27 now. She has not returned to Kakura. Setsuko passed away 3 years ago. The farmhouse was sold to a preservation nonprofit. They repaired the roof, cleared the garden. They left the outhouse as it was. The paper strips Setsuko had attached to the door faded and frayed over the years. One by one, they fell. The next caretaker lasted 3 months. The one after that was practical, didn't believe in superstition. On her 3rd night, she went to the outhouse with a flashlight. She stood over the opening in the cedar floor, and the beam fell into the dark and showed her only dark. the pit descending further than the light could reach. She stood there longer than she intended. The kind of stillness that comes not from calm, but from the sudden, certain feeling that something beneath you is also very still and also waiting. And from below, patient, smooth, unhurried. Akai kami, shiroi kami, dochira ga ii? The outhouse is still there. The question is still being asked. Something that lives in the dark has nothing but time. And it has learned, over many years, many summers, many children who came and went, that patience is a kind of power. That eventually, someone always answers. If this got under your skin, subscribe. There's more where this came from. Like the video if you want to see it, and drop a comment. What would you have answered? See you in the next one.
Subscribe if you dare.